wants to take people off higher benefits, put them on the job seekers allowance. Whether they care or not, I rather fancy they don't give ATOS. Sorry about that, it's a really poor pun.
ATOS origin, putting people in the bin. If your computer's broke, if you think disabled folk are trying it on.
Take a look at my scar, and you see, they told me I could work. I spent 6 months in hospital, not able to walk or talk or eat. And when I came out in September, they decided to take me. Well, a trachea in there as well. They decided to take me for an assessment, which I failed miserably.
The benefit you receive is changing. You currently receive incapacity benefits, severe disability allowance. They're going to assess me to see my capabilities to get me back to work. Wouldn't it be a lot cheaper to speak to my consultant that specialises in my disease?
It's very painful, it's traumatic, because it's like you have to relive your disabilities.
I've taken ATOS to tribunal twice now and beat them. And every time I beat them, they send me off for another assessment and find me fit for work again, and then decide to cut all my benefits again.
I fought ATOS without going to the tribunal, and I won. And I got all my benefits back, plus £785 in money that they withheld.
Unless you can fight, unless you've got the gumption to fight, you do without.
What do they want me to do? Can I be a window cleaner? This arm only goes up that much.
I've been looking for work for 3 years, but nobody will even entertain giving me a job, let alone an interview. I'm currently at Open University because it's the only thing that I can do. I get disability living allowance because they won't give me any other benefits. And I'm currently fighting to get high rate mobility on that, but even that I might not get that because I've got the dog, and they say that a guide dog isn't classed as somebody helping you get around, therefore you can get around independently.
They can find an employer that will take me on when I can come into work. If I can come into work, I'll willingly go and do the job. I'd like to be Prime Minister, actually.
I'd vote for you.
Someone like me who has got a lifelong permanent condition that affects my skeleton, it can never get any better. It will only get worse as I smash up more joints. But they want, and so at the moment I have an indefinite DLA award, just because it's a waste of the taxpayers' money to keep reassessing me, because I will never get any better. But under the personal independence payment, they are planning to reassess us all every year or every couple of years, because they think that not reassessing people leads to a lifetime of scroungers.
I think we should be holding the tabloid press to account. Stop demonising benefit claimants.
What's it like?
Yeah.
You don't need it, but any sort of stress makes your illness worse anyway. You've got all the stress and worry of that. Everything, I didn't choose to be disabled. I was working and paying my tax.
My brother, who I can't name because of my family, lovely bloke, 36, looked very fit and healthy, beautiful man, but he had severe depression for many, many years. He was claiming benefits, he was working a bit, he was able to work less and less. In the end, ATOS gave him a test, said he was fit for work, awarded him 0 points and took his benefits away. A couple of months later he was dead. He hung himself in my mum's garage.
ATOS origin, putting people in the bin. If your computer's broke, if you think disabled folk are trying.
Good afternoon, everybody. That was just a quick tune, and then an audio, just a short audio about a protest outside ATOS Origin. We all know ATOS has been a big topic for us this week, every week really, and I think it will continue to be a big topic. Nick and Neo have been working quite closely with some people around issues, problems, and the appalling way ATOS are treating people. We'll just have a sort of quick talk about that, and then I want to play a short audio. It's a phone call that somebody's made to ATOS about euthanasia. It's quite an interesting call. It's I'll play that in a bit and you can see what you guys think. But this week has brought up lots of other things around ATOS. I know you want to talk about something in particular, don't you, Nick?
Yes, I think it was something that came across. We seem to just every time we look at ATOS, there seems to be something else come out. And this was an article from Private Eye. I'm not certain about the date. I believe it's somewhere in the last few months. If I just go ahead and read it, because there's a heck of a lot to get through here. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
Yeah, this really relates to a gentleman by the name of Keith Tilbury. Gentleman is 60 years old and actually works for the emergency services. He's an ambulance dispatch person. I think he works on the phone. And they're actually saying, and I'll read this through because there's a heck of a lot. Mr. Tilbury spent 13 days in a coma, fighting for his life after he was accidentally shot in the stomach by a police firearms officer. The bullet smashed a rib, damaged his sternum and put a hole in his liver. He had to have part of a kidney removed and lost part of his bowel. He had massive entry and exit wounds, muscle and other extensive soft tissue damage. Since that disaster in 2007, Mr. Tilbury has suffered 2 heart attacks, 2 while undergoing surgery, a quadruple coronary bypass, 2 transient ischemic attacks, mini strokes, 1 full-blown stroke, resulting in reduced vision in his eyes, post-operative complications and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Jesus.
Given his well-documented health records, Mr. Tilbury, who'd been a civilian emergency call centre operative, is trying to establish how on earth the ATOS nurse or doctor, he is not sure which, could decide that he is not fit for work without dropping down dead when there's been no improvement in his health since his last assessment.
He was found fit for work?
He was actually found fit for work. I think the other issue on here was the gentleman was actually in a talk, and I think this was given by Thames Valley Police, and he was accidentally shot in the stomach, as we've said, by a 44 Magnum.
Oh. Is there any more to read out, or had you finished?
There's a lot more to it. I'm going to, because this is a scan, I'm going to try and drop this into the TNS room because it's a JPEG picture of the actual article. There's quite a bit of background about ATOS. There's also comments that the back-to-work tests weren't drawn up by ATOS, but they were actually assisted by another company called Unum, UNUM, which is an insurance giant from the US, which has already been the subject of quite a lot of court cases for its business practices. There's also mention, I think this relates to another organisation that seems to be coming up quite a lot on internet searches. There's a group called We Are Spartacus, and they basically have come through. I think they're specifically looking at the DLA claimants and how their reforms are going to start kicking in next year. And ultimately, it's just another point. I think this just highlights the fact that even for someone who is one of their own, they're getting no sympathy either.
Well, the posts I've read on forums, and we've actually had somebody contact us that's been having, has got Marfan's disease. So, it's a long-term genetic terminal illness, and they are being made to go for, they're clearly not, fit for work, never will be, yet they still are still being made to go to these assessments. I know we've also been looking at doctors' qualifications, recordings, what else? There's so much. What else have we been looking at?
Well, we've managed to get some very nice internal documents. I think Neo managed to pull one up about the training manual for these doctors on how their system works. I think a few other internal things, and I think one of the sites that you've got a subscription to has a lot more going on in that respect.
Yeah, that's Benefits and Work, that website. If anybody wants it, because they've got PDF guides, which I wanted to copy and put up on the site, but because of copyright, I'm not allowed to do it. I don't want to get, I don't really know that much about copyright, but it says don't do it, so I'm going to not do it. I'm not going to be a rebel. But yeah,
well, if anyone wants to contact me, I'm quite happy to be a rebel, and if they need something, I will try and work something out for them.
Yeah, I just I just don't want to do it, not at the moment. But anyway, benefits and work. If anyone wants anything from there, I'm more than happy to, give you whatever you want from there. There's lots of stuff on. There's a really good forum. We found really good forums as well. What was that one? Have you got the link there for the new one? The victims one.
Oh, the victims of ATOS?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let me have a look. I know I've got the blog. Yes, I have it here. Brand new site coming up.
Really, we're looking at ways, because we want this to be about solutions. We don't want this to be a 2-hour moan about, what benefits you could be getting but are being shafted about. It's about how to get them, how to do this in the way, to enable you to be positive and claim what you should be claiming and get what you should be getting. I mean, we can support you do that.
I think it's unbelievable, some of it, and I notice there is a groundswell amongst disabled people. The big thing I'm hearing reporting again is a lot of them, it seems that the general public are just reacting to the mainstream press. I think specifically one or two that I won't name here, just out of respect for them, even though they have little for anyone else. Yeah, that's the one.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. But disabled people are being openly abused in the streets because the mindset of a lot of other people is, you are stealing our money.
Yeah, it is the way, and what we've been trying to do is, find solutions to these issues. So if people are worrying about assessments, there's ways to request your assessment be recorded. Finding out everything you can about the assessment before you go. Being aware of the descriptors, being aware of how they mark you. I think, the info that we've been getting is that they want to kick off 92 or 93% of ESA claimants. That's a massive amount of people that are going to be kicked off. So we need, or people are winning at appeal. So I don't know if this is the ultimate aim, and it's another worry. Their ultimate aim is a real worry, but we have to do what we can for people to keep them getting their money. And if we do advise people to claim ESA, that we can back them with evidence and facts and info that is going to support their claim.
Neo, sorry mate, your speakers are a little loud. Your mic's a bit close to your speakers or something again, my friend.
Okay, shall I mute my mic then?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Is that better?
It will be.
Okay.
Good now.
Sorry, I really don't do well with interruptions.
I'm
sorry.
No,
it was alright. I could hear it come. I could hear it coming back. Maybe if Nick could fix that, and then mute, unmute. But
if I just jump in, I think where you left off, I think it's intriguing. I think looking back through the history of it, before all this stuff was put in place, there were a couple of politicians actually making talks, and there were a lot of claims of only a third of the people claiming sickness benefits were actually eligible, and that figure of a third was quite well bandied round even when they were going through consultation phases. And lo and behold, now that ATOS is actually going through this process, they are actually achieving that figure. So it's almost like they were told what target they had to achieve. They are now actually achieving that, because I think a third of the people are getting through eventually. There's another third who are being put into this work-related group, so effectively being put back onto job seekers with assistance, and another third are just being thrown straight back to unemployed.
Which is pretty harsh.
I think given the circumstances, I know from you talk to people who are job seekers, it's hard enough at the moment for someone who's fit and healthy. if you are going to go in, I think you're faced with the dilemma of what do you actually do about your illness. You know, if you go in and honestly tell an employer all the problems that you have, you can be almost guaranteed you're not getting the job, or do you lie to try and get in the job and deal with it afterwards?
Or, well, me, I would do what I felt to be the right thing, which would be I'd want to get the job, so I would do, I think, whatever it took to get that job, and if I had to lie, then I would. That's me. No.
Yeah, I mean, there is an interesting angle on this, only from having been advised by a union rep at the time I was going through problems from work, is that in terms of anything mental health, that is confidential information and you don't have to disclose that. I mean, that was a surprise to me.
Say that again?
This was from one of my union reps, that I think in terms of certain legalities, you don't necessarily have to disclose mental health problems for employment purposes. It's actually outside their remit.
Is that true?
I will have to double check on that. It's just something that came up. I mean, basically talking to one of my union reps was a minefield of information, and she had to really go through this in depth with me. I think the other thing she was talking about was what the definition of disability was, because at the time, you know, I was very much in denial, a case of I want to keep my job, I don't want to have to accept this. And it was when she explained to me that if you look at certain types of law, disability is just defined as having a medical condition for over 12 months. It's not a factor of, you know, how immobilised you are. It's just a case of you've had something medical, you may or may not get ongoing treatment, but if it's over a year, that is sufficient to class you as disabled. And when you start to look at that definition, it becomes a very broad thing indeed.
Yeah, absolutely it does. It really does. A year, okay.
I mean, other than that, I mean, I know to look at ATOS, I think it's, you know, I mentioned that story as one extreme. I think we could probably do another 2 or 3 hours of basically going through certain case histories, and the way their rules have changed has got so different. And I think it was something that was already on the previous audio. The previous test, and I went through that test, and that was quite harsh in itself. The current test now is not can you walk 50 metres, it's now a case of can you mobilise. So if you're in a wheelchair, can you actually make your wheelchair travel that far? I think there was a comment previously of a blind woman who's saying, well, you've got a guide dog, so you can now do that. So it's the fact of if the support's in place, it doesn't matter how you get there. It's just the fact of can you travel that distance. And they seem to have made it a lot fuzzy around the edges and a lot more open to interpretation. I know there's things I've looked at, and I think Neo's looked into in terms of how their manual works, that their computer system is there to really push an agenda. I think we're seeing things that effectively how competent the doctor is at using the computer becomes more important than their medical training. And if they actually tick a wrong box, the system itself reacts to how they tick boxes, so the question that follows actually comes up in a different format depending on the previous answer. I think the good doctors, there's an option pretty much on every question to say, no, I'm not choosing one of the multiple choice things, I will choose other and add my own comments. But I think if you're one of these people quite clearly under pressure in one of those jobs, because I think they appreciate the public relations are against them, I think they're probably trying to just keep their job going and just deal with it as best they can.
The training stuff was interesting, if I remember rightly. Was it because they're called healthcare professionals? I'm sure. Excuse me. they call themselves healthcare professionals, and I think nurses, like a registered nurse, has to do. I think it's 17 days of their specific training to be able to do the assessments. Is that right?
I think it's something like that. I know recently, I think they put it up And I think specifically for nursing, I think they get a bit more. I think doctors possibly 10 days or so. I think I've seen figures. I couldn't be totally accurate on that.
It was less than 10 days for GPs. I think it was 7 days for GPs, and I'm pretty sure it was 17 for nurses. Which, when you think about training for other jobs, it's not a lot of time. If you need to learn, specific things about the human body, in relation to medical conditions, it's not very long.
Thing is, Ferry, I think. Can you hear me? Okay.
And thank you. Yeah, you've your speakers are better. Thanks, Nick.
The thing is that you're taking a 17-day training course, and I can't look at that. And like you just said, how can you take 17 days to even understand any kind of physiology or mental, psychology or anything like that? So I think 17 days. What I kind of think, well, maybe like say 10 days of that is just learning how to use Lima, just learning how to use the computer system. Maybe maybe that's why it just takes so little, because all they're teaching them to do is how to use Lima, perhaps. And that's it.
Well, this is the thing. I would like to find out what the training consists of, and I don't think that's actually on that document, is it?
No, I don't think it does. No, it doesn't go into any details. It just says doctors receive 8 days.
Oh, it's 8 days?
Yeah, nurses receive 17.
I think from the timescales on it, pretty much all they're probably doing is showing them how the system works.
Yeah.
And I think they're relying on the fact that they're qualified healthcare people. So I think anything in terms of medical qualifications probably just goes by the board.
But is there, and I know somebody else is asking this, is there a standard that they have to, well, there will be a standard, I know there will be, but what is that standard, and are they actually reaching this standard? I think is something we need to look at in depth. And I know that you're sort of trying to do a questionnaire, to take to the doctors, because I'm sorry to keep, I want to keep going on about it, or I do want to keep going on about it, but we want to offer solutions. It's not just a moan, we need to offer people a positive route that they're going to get success from.
Sorry, I'm having problems here. I think it might be breaking up a fraction. I don't know if Neo's muted or not.
It does say it's sort of
I must get in front of the mic, because I can't move it any more further away from the speakers.
That's okay. I can. Jack, is that okay?
Yeah, minor Skype issues. If you can just mute out when you're not speaking, Nick and Neon, that'd be fine.
Alright, okay. I always forget that.
Yeah, so I know Nick was sort of was it you and Nick talking about getting together some kind of questionnaire to actually take to the doctors with you when you have your assessment, to find out their qualifications, how long they've been working for ATOS. I haven't actually seen the questionnaire, so I don't know what it consists of, but I know that's sort of in draft stage. Is it not?
It's still something I'm really trying to throw around in my head. I've not even started trying to draft it out. I think one of the problems we have is trying to establish their qualifications. I think Neo was very great. He actually found the specific contract between ATOS and DWP, which was quite a boring read generally, but I think overall ATOS are fully responsible for what they call their subcontractors, and they are supposed to be doing their due diligence to make sure. I think it's not only that their doctors are qualified and have some relevant experience, but also that they are continuing to keep up to date with medical knowledge and keep up with that. And I was trying to really focus in on that, of saying, this was mainly from my past experience with a medical from 2 or 3 years back, and I was extremely unhappy with so many things going on, and I went to ATOS and I said, look, I want to take a complaint up with you, and they were quite dismissive, and then I was actually on the phone with them saying, I want the details of this person. If they are actually a properly qualified doctor, I have some serious issues, I want to talk to the BMA, I want to find out who they are. I actually got to the point of saying, I have the doctor's name, but there are 2 registered doctors with the same name, so I can't complain. And I think they were quite happy that I couldn't identify them properly. But from what I've been hearing, I think I've heard reports from other people who have gone down that route, and I think basically the professional bodies are saying they're not really acting as doctors. It's more a case of they're in a sense an expert witness for ATOS. They're a subcontractor. There's a lot of phrases bandied about who they are and what their role is. My impression is they're there to actually operate the computer, and the computer is doing the majority of the work, and they're only employing healthcare professionals because it makes it look better, because ultimately ATOS is not a medical company. If you look at their corporate details, they are an IT company. They supply IT to the BBC. I think they have a number of government contracts they're involved in. There's also another scandal cooking up at the moment, is that they're providing all the computer systems for the Special Olympics, which in a way is complete hypocrisy, that, you know, they are actually involved in something to promote disability whilst at the same time doing what they're doing to everyone else. There's a great deal of depth in this. I know we've had some email from a certain person, and without going too much detail into their circumstances, they've gone down the road and they have drafted some very good letters, but these are along the lines of tacit agreement, which isn't really something that I do anymore. I have used it in the past successfully. My caution to them was they seem to have put some very, very strong questions to them, and I've said ultimately I want to capture the information, and if I don't capture the information on the doctor and they refuse, I want to be able to go to an appeal tribunal and say, look, I made this request at the time, and to my mind it's quite a reasonable request to say I want to know who this medical person is. If they're involved with my healthcare decisions, I want to know who they are. I want to know that they're skilled in what they do. So even if I go to the tribunal and say, the fact that they're refusing, if I can make it as reasonable as possible, I can then make a good case at the tribunal to say, I've done my level best to take as many steps as possible. ATOS won't do all this, they won't reveal all this information, but I've tried to do it on their behalf to actually help them out here, and they've not cooperated.
Yeah, I mean, you all know my worries about going down this route. My worry, and my real worry, is that they're completely dismissive of anything like this. If you're asking, quite strong questions that they cannot answer, they will just cut your money, and they will fail you. If you don't stop an assessment, they'll fail you. You'll be cut. Your money will be cut. The same thing, if you are asked to provide something, you don't provide it, your money's stopped. Again, with this, if you ask something if you ask a question that they cannot possibly answer, or put them in a position that they cannot get out of in that way, then your chances of any kind of success, even at appeal, are limited. If that particular client failed and got their money cut off, I don't think I'd be able to win at appeal, not with the evidence that I would have to hand. It would just be impossible. So it's a real plea to everybody, just be so careful. I know it's a good thing to tread water, dip your toe in the water, see how far you can push them, but you've got to remember it's your life, and if you're prepared to cope with the consequences, and fair enough, but I don't know if people fully understand what those consequences really are.
I think still a lot of people, I think they're still given a false impression that ATOS, you're seeing a doctor, it's someone who's got a good background, they've read your case notes, they know the background, and I think there's very little of that. We're seeing some small success in this. There's been quite a substantial victory that the government has had to U-turn as regards recording. I know a lot of people have actually been thrown out of their medicals because they have tried off their own back to go in with recording equipment and been thrown out. And it became such a significant issue. Now the government is saying that anyone who makes the request, and I think that's the key point, you have to make the request. ATOS are now having to quickly buy up a lot of recording devices, and we've done some tracking down. They're very similar to what you would see in police custody. These are double recording machines. I think they have professionally trained operators to make sure they're doing very genuine recordings. I think their complaint always was in the past that if someone was just making a covert recording, it could be doctored and edited to actually present them in a bad light.
Oh, like they don't doctor evidence themselves, please.
Yeah, and I know from even when people have tried perhaps on a lower level, the one thing I would say certainly, some people do take a friend along or a colleague or an advisor, and I would say that anyone going to one of these, they should never ever go in alone. But even when they've taken an advisor in who's taking notes, apparently they have quite a well-rehearsed format, and they actually explain that they're quite happy for someone to take notes, but should those notes ever try to be introduced as evidence to the tribunal, they will dispute everything because they would claim it's a one-sided record and it's not a legally valid copy. So I think even if you try and do it on the low level, they're very clearly going to try and dispute it. And I think people are starting to wake up to this fact that if you want to actually go through this process, you have to have backup, you have to have a witness in place. Effectively, you have to treat it in the same way as if you're walking into a courtroom or if you're being dealt with by a policeman. You have to keep your paperwork in order, you have to have good records of absolutely everything that's taken place. It shouldn't be necessary, and certainly for people with severe illnesses like this, you're asking a heck of a lot for people who've got multiple medical conditions to deal with this.
Oh, and terminal illnesses, that was the other thing that I found so shocking, is that, you know, people with a terminal illness are being called into an assessment.
It is unbelievable. There is...
And being failed. And just, I'd like to play this audio in a sec, but just really quickly, while I remember, I just wanted to say, record, you know, as you say, prepare for the assessment, request to have the assessment recorded, take someone with you if you can, and be prepared that the actual assessment is all done on a database. That's why you need to be aware of what the descriptors are and how you score on those descriptors, because the questions are, I don't know, for example, you know, can you lift your leg above your waist, or something like that, or so many inches high, or so many feet. If you're aware that question is going to be asked, if you've got a variation in your condition, or you can raise your leg, I don't know, maybe not quite that far, their answer in that database will be no, so you will score 0 points. So that's an example. So be aware of the descriptors and be aware that it's a database. So they're reading a question and just putting no in, which will give you 0 points. That is why everyone that fails seems to get 0 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one recently came up. I think the last time I went through, and it's not uncommon, so many people seem to go through and they're saying they're scoring 0. And they're absolutely dumbstruck by that. And I had the same thing. Then going through appeal, I think I ended up on 16, 17, which takes you over. I think the threshold is 15. But I think they had one recently I saw reported of a lady who'd scored 0, went through appeal. When the appeal people actually sat down to do it, her points ended up on 30, which is an unbelievably high score. And they're saying, as far as they know, that's the biggest jump they've ever seen.
I've done, I've filled in forms for people, and I've helped people before the assessment and gone through the descriptors with them. And if you're prepared, it's not that difficult to score 15 points. It really isn't. There's quite a few questions. If you know what you're doing, you know what to say, and you're prepared, you can get 15 points. It's not that hard. There's quite a few, as me say, it's not that hard. It's bloody hard. But if you know what they're looking for, just be prepared.
Yeah, I think the other thing I know from probably the same experience you've had as well. If you're trying to help someone to fill out forms, and I think this is certainly more of an issue with people older. I'm saying, and you know, I'm getting on a bit, but I'm talking about people into their 50s, 60s.
Like
Quite often, if you talk to them generally, they are on the habit of playing down their illnesses. You know, no one likes a negative person, so you have to try and do the best you can. But when it comes to dealing with ATOS, if you play down your illnesses, you're going to end up with no money.
Well,
so if you try and make a better job of things, they will hold that against you.
This was something that was just mentioned in the chat box there about ATOS downplaying any infirmity that you do have, and obviously this is going to lead claimants to have to exaggerate their ill health for the purpose of kind of redressing the balance. And if there is anything that could possibly be worse for the health of the infirm, it's exaggerating their health in any respect.
Can I say something, guys, quickly?
Oh, please do now. I didn't even know you were back.
Yeah, well, since I've got my medical report here, I could actually go through quite a few of these descriptors. Would you like me to?
Please, yeah, please do, because that'd be really good for everybody.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's quite a few of them. I'll go through them as quickly as possible. Right, based on activity task. Right, learning tasks. This is descriptor A. Right, learning task. Cannot learn how to complete a simple task, such as setting an alarm clock. You get 15 points for that. Cannot learn anything beyond a simple task, such as setting an alarm clock. 9 points. Which is a bit strange, because it almost sounds like the same thing.
But it's phrased slightly differently, isn't it? And
that's cannot learn how to complete, cannot learn beyond. Right. Cannot learn anything
Neo.
Sorry.
No, slow down. Do them slowly.
All right, okay. I just wondered how much time we got.
No, we've got loads of time.
Okay. I'll start from again.
Yeah, start again.
Okay, learning task, descriptor. Cannot learn how to complete a simple task, such as setting an alarm clock. It's 15 points. Cannot learn anything beyond a simple task, such as setting an alarm clock. 9 points. Cannot learn anything beyond a moderately complex task, such as the steps involved in operating a washing machine to clean clothes. That's 6 points. Next script. Awareness of everyday hazards, such as boiling water or sharp objects. Okay, reduced awareness of everyday hazards leads to a significant risk of injury to self or others, damage to property or possessions, such as that they require supervision for the majority of the time to maintain safety. That's 15 points. Reduced awareness of everyday hazards leads to a significant risk of injury to self or others, or damage to property or possessions, such as they frequently require supervision to maintain safety. That's 9 points. Reduced awareness of everyday hazards leads to a significant risk of injury to self or others, or damage to property or possessions, such that they occasionally require supervision to maintain safety. 6 points. You see where the language is basically the same, except for a few words.
So it's needing complete, not being able to do it at all, needing supervision to do it, or needing some supervision to be able to do it.
It just seems so kind of like,
the DLA questions are like that too.
Yeah, but it's kind of like painting everybody with the same almost brush, because it's like all the same wording except for a couple of different ones.
Well, they're sneaky, aren't they?
Tell it's done, but you can tell it's a computerised system, but it's not.
How many questions are there on the form?
There's you got on activity. There's descriptors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 on the activity. What else?
And they normally score 15 for the first one, so they're broken down. So there's 15 there, so 3, 6, 9, 12. So that's 4 different sections. Okay, so it wouldn't be too hard to get 15 points. I know there are physical ones as well.
I think they've given, what is this here?
There should be physical ones about how high you can lift your leg, can you walk.
Yeah, I think these descriptors are covering everything here. There's about 2 pages.
There's the mental health ones and there's the physical ones. I think for mental health you only have to score 10, if I remember rightly.
No, this is the ones I'm reading is based upon me. So I'm reading this is mental and cognitive and intellectual function descriptors. Here, Schedule 1, Part 2 of the Employment Support Allowance, Limited Capability Work Act related activities. So I imagine maybe the descriptors are actually on this act that you can look at.
They will be.
Maybe.
I imagine they will be.
The descriptors are there in statutes.
Yeah, they must be, yeah. So you've got other ones like initiating and completing personal actions, which means planning, organising, problem solving, prioritising or switching tasks, then coping with change and getting about, coping with social engagement due to cognitive impairment or mental disorder, and, you know.
So with that many questions, it really concerns me that they're failing so many people on mental health grounds. Am I right? I'd like to put on this audio, this euthanasia audio, if you guys don't mind, just quickly.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll sort of jump back in. We might have a few minutes then, but I really wanted to play this audio because it was pretty pertinent, I think.
Okay.
All right.
All our operators are busy. Please hold for the next available operator.
Good morning, Asodin.
Hello there. I'm inquiring about the euthanasia options with ATOS, and I'm just wondering if you might be able to give any more advice about them. And if
with what, sorry?
The euthanasia packs.
I don't know. Would it be to do with healthcare?
Yes, it's to do with healthcare. It's basically there's going to be 25% of people removed off disability living allowance shortly, and about 93% removed off ESA. Due to the assessments that ATOS do on the sick and disabled. And many sick and disabled people are actually quite interested in a euthanasia option rather than starving in their own homes. And I just wondered what euthanasia options ATOS offered.
I'll just try and put you through. Just phone me.
Thank you.
Good morning, at this healthcare. Rima speaking. How can I help you?
Hello, are you in the UK, by any chance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in UK, yeah.
Okay, I wonder if you can help me. I'm wondering if the euthanasia packs are going to be released soon.
Sorry, I can't get you. Can you repeat, please?
I wondered if the euthanasia packs are going to be released soon.
Sorry, I have no idea about this. I just pass it to my colleague, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Hello?
Hello, yes, I wonder if you can help me. I'm inquiring about the ATOS euthanasia packs. I wonder if they've been released yet.
Sorry?
The ATOS, the euthanasia packs. The reason why I'm asking is because there's going to be 25% of disability living allowance claimants. They're going to have their benefits removed shortly, and about 93% of people with ESA. And there's a lot of sick and disabled people who would much prefer to have a euthanasia option rather than being forced to die of neglect or lack of care. And I just wondered what euthanasia options ATOS was going to propose.
I really don't know nothing about this, to be honest.
You don't? Okay.
No, I really don't know anything about this.
Okay. I mean, how would you suggest somebody euthanize themselves?
I really don't know.
So we're looking for like a painless way, one that doesn't cause too much pain.
I really don't know, no.
As it is ATOS, the company which is doing the assessments on the sick and disabled of the country.
Okay, just hold on the line, please.
Thank you.
Hello? Can you put this through? Do you understand who it is?
Understand who it is?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, so it's very quiet here. Yes, I'm inquiring about what euthanasia options are available through ATOS.
Right. What option, say?
Euthanasia.
Okay. I think you're through to the wrong section, actually. I'll try and give it the right number for you. Hold on.
Okay. Or if you could transfer me, it would be of great help.
Hello there, sir.
Hello?
Okay, if you call this number I give you now, they can tell you.
Okay, is it a free phone number? Because I'm...
This one's not a free phone, but I think it's a local rate number. It wouldn't cost you much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
2 seconds, let me just...
Okay.
Okay, yep.
Okay, this is the one. It's 0113.
0113.
Yep, 230.
230.
9175.
9175. Just for your record as well, just so you make a note of it, it's to do with... I'm a disabled person myself, and
right, okay.
the government's figures, they're going to be removing 25% of claimants off of disability living allowance and about 93% of people off of ESA. And we're looking for an option rather than sort of starve in our own homes and die of neglect, etc. We're looking for options for a cheap and painless way to euthanise, to basically get it over quicker for the government and to do our duty for the country.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I'm inquiring about.
Okay, I'll make a record from this number over here that you called us.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, what's your name again, sir?
My name's Mr. Wyatt.
Mr. Wyatt, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
The call. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, ATOS Healthcare, Christine speaking.
Hi, Christine. I was speaking to the healthcare department earlier on. I got put through to a department that couldn't help me. I'm inquiring about euthanasia options with regards to the disability cuts. There's going to be 25% of people removed off disability living allowance shortly, and 93% of people off of ESA. And there's quite a few disabled and sick people that would prefer a quick and easy euthanasia option, rather than to be forced to die from neglect, starvation or homelessness. And I wondered, as your company is processing the assessments for the claimants, and it's the company that ultimately makes the decision, and they've got to fit in with those guidelines of 25% and 93%. I wondered what euthanasia options ATOS might provide, and are there any plans to provide a euthanasia kit?
I think, sir, that request would be better put in writing.
I prefer to speak, actually. I like writing is very informal.
I would prefer,
it's a much slower process.
Put in writing, please, sir.
Has to be in writing. Okay, who should I send the letter to? Who's basically responsible for the extermination of the disabled at the moment?
If you can just send it to the ATOS Healthcare Customer Relations team.
Okay, and is that to Himmler or Goebbels?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to end the call now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you can ignore this plight.
That's just unbelievable, that call, isn't it? Just... He's got some... I don't know how he manages to keep his voice so calm, going from person to person. And one actually says, I think she says, okay, after being asked about euthanasia. Yeah, I know, it is unbelievable. Right, I think we're getting pretty much to the end of the show, so I'm just going to do a quick roundup. Nick, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Still here. Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. We really want to keep this show not just about benefits, but other welfare topics. So if anyone has got anything in particular that they want, that's sort of health or, welfare related, that's a topic that they want to talk about or would like to have talked about, we've sort of thought about budgeting, cooking on a budget, shopping on a budget, certainly things that I'm really struggling with, feeding, the family that we've got on dole money now. It's not easy, so that would be, and it's not just about benefits, it's about, general welfare. Also, your own well-being, so looking at alternatives to medication, where you can access homeopathy and other, other practices. how to make a claim if somebody's died, etc. So if anyone's got any ideas, let us know. Chuck it in the chat box or email us at welfare@welfare.org.uk or team@welfare.org.uk. So thank you very much for listening. This has been Welfare and the Welfare Superstar team on tnsradio.ning.com, Scottish Sovereigns on the Land.ning.com, and please check out the website. We're building that up and there's more and more going on there every day. Suggestions, please, again, post them, put them in the chat box or send them to us, please. Alright, see you guys.
Bye. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.